Okay, sitting here together with Sarah Cornell, the coordinator of the Planetary Boundaries Research at the Stockholm Resilience Centre, and we're at the Planet Under Pressure conference in London. And it's the last day. What do you think? Has it been a good conference?
Yes, it's been great. I mean, for me personally, it's been great. I've been involved in, right since my PhD, research that is linked to the global change programs, originally with the IGBP. So in a lot of ways, coming to a conference like this is a chance to catch up with a lot of old friends and as well colleagues who've been trying to work on integrated research on global change. I think a thing I've heard said very often here is that this is a really quite special opportunity for integrating across the disciplines and internationally. We've had other global change conferences in the past, but this one has just really shown how far we've come since the global change programs were first created and how much effort we're putting in to try to make sure our knowledge is able to be applied for the big challenges that we all face.
So what do you think about the Stockholm Resilience Centre so far? Have we done a good job at the conference?
Done a fantastic job. I mean, we've been really prominent in the exhibition centre. Every time I've walked past, there have been people chatting to people, and every time I've been there, we've had many people coming to talk to us about what we do and how we're using our science in the real world. I think that, you know, we really are seen as leaders in research that crosses boundaries and that really engages with real world problems across different scales. And in the sessions, sorry, I forgot the other important bit. Obviously, we've been really prominent in the conference sessions themselves. And not least, with Johan's and other people's input in the plenary sessions. So I think I'm really proud to be part of it. It's a real pleasure.
Yeah, we had some problem. We wanted to sort of cover all the sessions, and at one occasion we had actually, I think, 3 or 4 parallel sessions led
Yes.
by Resilience Centre people. So we've been quite everywhere here.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
A lot of fun. So what do you think about the conference when it comes to the mix of science and policy? Has it been too focused on science or too focused on policy, or has it been a good mix?
Again, I think we need to look at where we've come from. I think, you know, a lot of people have, a lot of the sessions have been very focused on science. And I have to say, I've got a little bit of a biased view on this because I've tended to go to the sessions that have had more of a policy or governance perspective to them. I think what we really see is a lot of people are learning how to have those dialogues. I think some of the sessions where this is very new to them, the idea that science should be engaging with policy, we still find that a lot of the talks are very scientific, and then they say, and we need to engage better with policymakers at the end. There haven't been many sessions where we've had a strong policy push for the research that's being presented. I'm going to give you one little example of a session that I found really interesting. On Monday, on the first day, there was a session about how we might find different ways of measuring the planetary boundaries. So I was very interested in that. And, you know, some of the talks were very technical and methodological and theoretical. And right at the end, after these discussions about, you know, carbon cycle and the mathematics of complexity, an environmental lawyer, Peter Roderick, who's been working with a lot of the environmental charities in the process of the run-up to Rio, he stood up to talk about a regulatory context for the planetary boundaries. And when he said, I'm an environmental lawyer, you could have heard the room dropping their pins. I mean, it was, you know, I think a lot of people were just thinking, oh my goodness, maybe we should have gone for coffee a bit early. But he absolutely captivated them. He really showed that, you know, the legal context of what we do is really important, and that we should be thinking about it and structuring our research in ways that can mesh into that process. So that's not strictly the policy world, but it certainly showed that we need to keep our ears open to the other framings of the questions that drive our research. Really fun.
Thank you. So if you just want to sort of bring across one thing that was really promising during the conference, or one thing that sort of made you glad and gave some hope for sort of the future, what would that be?
For me, one of the real highlights has been the visibility of unconventional conference formats I was part of an unconference session, a kind of open space discussion. But all the way through the programme, we've had World Cafe discussions, you know, and other sort of half-facilitated discussion processes. So in some ways, the discussions that we've always loved about conferences that happen in the corridors have actually been brought into the conference space. They've been documented, and people feel that they could be contributing to the overall outcomes. In our unconference session, one of the really big highlights for me was that it was a really international mix of people. One of our colleagues, who is Indian, but has been working for a long time in Sweden, working with the IGBP, was saying that actually, even for somebody who's worked so much in the international circuit, it can be very intimidating if you're the only non-native English speaker in a room to stand up and ask a question. And this more informal format was much more inclusive. And as the kind of my closing happy memory of this was, at the end of our session, we all sat in a circle, passing our talking stone around to share our thoughts on the last bit. And one of the participants from Botswana said, "This is just great. It reminds me of my childhood, where we sit round in a circle and somebody is asked to go into the middle to start the dance." And I loved it, because it's so improbable that you'd get a conversation like that at a scientific conference. And it, for me, was a sort of a sign that we'd reached a kind of cultural shared resonance point. Obviously, I'm not suggesting we'd always run conferences like that, but we need to have that shared understanding internationally and across cultures if we're going to be taking the science forward.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.